thinking back to what I said yesterday about starting with habits and having that be your foundation for getting your creative work done, and using that as kind of the launching point to get your projects finished. It's also important to know the other side of that, though. Not just the writing side of things, but the other side of your creative life, which is all the other hours that you're not at the keyboard. If you write, 2 hours a day, you've got 22 hours when you're not writing that supports those other 2 hours. And I've mentioned before that you don't want any kind of excitement necessarily in your personal life. You want the excitement to be in your creative life. To put out really amazing, exciting, creative work, your personal life needs to be the opposite of that. It needs to be very, very stable, very, in some ways, very boring. This is not to say, obviously, that you can't have fun and do all this stuff. Absolutely, definitely enjoy your life. But the point I'm trying to make is that you need to have a certain sense of stability, though. If you don't have that kind of stable foundation, you're not going to really have the support system to be able to create publicly, to be able to put out this great work. It's like the artist that's starving, the artist that is just writing work just to pay the bills. You know what I mean? That's when your art starts getting compromised. That's when you start putting out subpar work because you're doing it for an external thing, because you have extra pressures on your mind. It's the same thing with everything else. If your family life is not exactly the strongest, your creative work is going to probably be affected by that, because it's very difficult to separate the two. You can't just sit at your computer for 2 hours or an hour or whatever and just block out what's going on the rest of your life. It's going to come into you. It's going to seep into your head. And so focusing on having that stability in both, obviously your family life, your day job life, doing things that aren't stressing you out is so crucial to getting this work done. And it's becoming more and more apparent to me as I'm now, obviously started transitioning back into the working field now. My sabbatical, I think, ended like 6 weeks ago, something like that. So for 6 weeks now, I've been in the working realm, and it's so much more. In a way, it's so much more freeing because I'm not necessarily worried about the financial side of things that's taken care of now, so I can kind of create without having to worry about that. But it's also something where I've realized how much doing a job that you enjoy matters, because if you're doing, say, a day job that is soul-sucking, that you absolutely hate, it's going to be very difficult to go to the keyboard and forget about that. I think for some people, maybe the keyboard is kind of like your relief, maybe your stress relief. But I think for most of us, the keyboard is another form of work. The keyboard is not necessarily where you get your relaxation from. Oftentimes, you need to be relaxed to go to the keyboard. For me, it's kind of the same thing with reading. Like I know some people read for relaxation. I need to be relaxed to read. Like it starts the other way. And so this video here is just more of kind of a call out and more of kind of understanding the necessity of having that sort of stability in your personal life. So that way you have the launching point to do all this creative work. Because, as much as I can talk about, like the philosophies and all that stuff, and, obviously on Thursday, my second part of like my writing philosophy comes out. As much as I can talk about that kind of stuff, you need to have the stability on the other side of it too. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. It's very difficult to put out a masterwork under such dire conditions. I'm sure it's happened before. People I'm sure can give plenty of examples, but generally speaking, the more stable your life is, the more calm it is, the more easy it is to get into that sort of state where you're putting out your best work. The more chaos, the more elements that are out of your control that are happening, the more your work's going to be affected, the more you're going to have that worried sort of monkey mind, the more that's going to affect your work. And, it does not make it any easier. It's manageable, but I'd be very hard pressed to find a scenario where not having a stable life outside of the keyboard makes your writing somehow better. Well, that's going to be it for today. I will be back tomorrow, and then obviously on Thursday is the next writing lesson video.